diaries, the callbacks, the to-dos are really, really important. A lot of people will have them pop up and they miss them and they let them go, but you'll only ever make one cold call to someone if you speak to them. The next call is a warm call. So if you've got that, you've got the information saved, you've got something to leverage next time round. And that could be a no, that could be I'm busy, but at least last time we spoke, I'm busy. However, I'm still here. I said I'll call back. I'll call back again and again and again.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley, and welcome to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change, and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today, we've got a great interview ahead of us, but before we get into that, I just want to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, while other days we cover things like trending topics. Stop by every Tuesday for a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that's going to help you drive better results in your day-to-day. Some days we open up for Q&A, and other days you get a mic drop episode from Matt where he shares something that he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and wants you to know. And as a reminder, if you like the content that we share here on the show, make sure that you subscribe for more. All right, a few weeks ago I shared that we held our first official roadshow event in London, and with it we really had two core goals for our attendees. One was for them to learn a thing or two that can help them or their business succeed regardless of the tech that they're using, and two, to have some fun while they were there. And after receiving plenty of feedback post-event, it's safe to say that the event was absolutely a huge success on both fronts. The main drivers for that success, I believe, came down to two of our interactive panel discussions that we held, and today's episode is a recording of the second panel discussion around the ever-growing and ever-popular topic of business development. Huge and amazing panelist group that included TDA Creative CEO Dave Draper, Embedded Ops owner Cy Bohr, Loxo Customer Success Team Lead Victoria Robinson, and Loxo Customer Success Manager Natalia Bullitt. Great conversation between the five of us, and then we even opened up to some live questions from the audience. And one final note, since this was a live recording, the audio quality is a little bit lower than what you're used to from us as we're optimizing for the in-person experience, but I can promise you that the conversation is well worth listening into. So let's jump into it.
All right, everyone, back for round two. And one of the most resounding things everyone said they wanted help with is Bizdev. So in this panel, we're going to go into Bizdev from all sides. How do you externally get new business? How can you grow within your existing clients? And so we've got four panelists today for this one, and we're going to go around and I'll let each of you introduce yourselves.
Hi everybody, my name's Cy. I run a consultancy called Embedded Ops. I work with owner, founder-led recruitment agencies supporting everything back office. I was a recruiter to start off with, and I get everything I do around making placements. I like to speak from a recruiting standpoint, not just spreadsheets, data quality, so on and so forth.
Thank you. Hi everybody, Dave Draper, TDA. So we are design, product and tech, UK headquartered, mainly focused on the US markets. Been trading 14 years now, mainly perm with some contracts as well.
Hello, I am Vic and I am the Customer Success Manager at Loxo. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here to meet you all and excited to get going with this.
Hello, I'm Natalia, people call me Nat. I'm also a Customer Success Manager at Loxo, recently joined, so only a month. But I've been working in rec tech for quite a few years now. So, yeah.
All right, and I'm not going to let you all off the hook without an icebreaker either.
Go.
You have one song that you're only allowed to listen to for the rest of this year. It can be any song, old, new, but you can only ever have one song playing when you're in the car, when you're working out.
Oh my gosh.
What is it?
Vienna, Billy Joel.
That was quick. That was a good one.
Oh my god, this is so hard. I feel like at the moment, I'm such like a big TikTok fan, and it's I'm working late. And I feel like it's just the best tune for everything. Any part of the day, you're like, yes. So yeah, that one for me.
Yeah, I like that one.
You got to sing now as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my go-to karaoke is Sex on Fire. Although I did get stitched up once at a 6-year-old's party, so I had to sing Your Sweets Are on Fire. But that would probably drive me mad, but that's off the top of my head, I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
Mine's also a karaoke one, Careless Whisper.
Oh, there you go. That is a
Sweet.
with a saxophone.
Yeah.
All right, so Bizdev, let's start from the top. And one thing, especially with your operations experience, like fundamentals, process. I think that almost underlies so much more before you understand like what you're going to do, the tactics that you're going to execute. What would you recommend for most companies to think about just when you're starting up, like operationally processes that just really help provide that good foundation for that?
Yeah, good. I've actually recently been spending time with an agency who, much like other people in the room, realised that they need to do some business development this year. We deep dived into their database, which wasn't like so, but I'll take what they are using. And basically what we found out was contacts weren't coded, companies weren't coded, there was nothing. No one cared about it for the last 2 years. And for me, that is a terrible starting point to try to do BD. So you're picking up candidates, and candidates when you can code it that well, not when you can just spec them out and you get interviews and do placements. They don't really care. So I think the starting point is like assessing the data, thinking about the quality of what's in there, what can you work with, what can you do. And I think if you are not capturing that information, you need to look at what the folks on the phone are doing, how they're qualifying, what they're putting into the system, who's responsible for QA here. Like I have obviously set up to do weekly QAs, quarterly QAs, where it just gets more and more in-depth as you go along. So from a process perspective, I think starting with that level of data, so you know who's buying what, who does what, and who to connect with who, is where I start when I think about that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think, as a lot of companies, we've been very guilty of dropping the ball when it's come to BD, where it was very much kind of vacancy rich and, we were busy fulfilling the roles. I think, for me, BD has to be a little and often approach, and also you have to pick the right people and have the right people rather than square pegs in round holes where they don't want to do BD, they're not good at it, but they have other skills. But as the market turns, those people that can't do BD, then they may well be surplus to requirements. So for me, it's getting the right people in the roles that enjoy it, are good at it, have that flair, support them, give them the data they need. But you do need to be selective because you can burn a lot of time, energy, and cash on people that don't really want to be doing it.
So let's talk about that one a little bit more. Like,
Sure.
What are some of those, what are you finding in the people that do well in that role? What are the resources that you are giving them to help people identify? Because it's not one of those, just go make 100 dials a day and you're going to get business.
No,
What are
exactly.
those people doing?
Well, and we were ever evolving in this field, but for us, the mantra for me has always been keep the salespeople selling. So, don't bog them down with products, give them accessibility to products, accessibility to data that's going to create opportunities or have opportunities created for them, as opposed to a salesperson that you're taking them away from the cutting edge front line to look at systems, to look at data. So, if their strength selling, we would always try to keep them selling. Keep them in front of customers, keep them in front of candidates, having high value conversations, as opposed to some of the back end work which you can either outsource or feed into automations. So it's creating those opportunities to keep them closest to the money.
Good, that's good. Good. Nat, anything that you two are seeing from...
Broke it.
Oh no,
Sorry.
I broke it. Gosh, Rob. It's working for me now.
Oh.
You know what? I think I have seen a lot, and I think the industry right now, everyone's like, you have to go out and do new business development. Where I think what everyone does forget is a lot of people had some incredible years, like over COVID or pre-COVID, where people would do one deal with one business, another deal with another business. So I think what I would 100% recommend, and what I'm seeing quite a lot right now, is actually tracking your historical clients. Who did you do a deal with 3 years ago, but the person who the account manager has left the business? So can you re-engage with them? Follow all of the people on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're not just connecting with that one person who is the hiring manager for you. I think it's so important to be branching out to those historical clients and not just focusing on new biz. There's so much work that can be done with people that you've done work with in the past.
I feel like that comes very hand in hand with being a customer success manager. Sometimes you just have conversations with people all day and you know that maybe they need something additional to what they're actually telling you that they need. So it's very much about just like asking the right questions, involving them in conversations with people that might be able to guide them in the right direction. And I really am a firm believer in just like landing and expanding in that kind of sense. So yeah, and taking advantage of the contacts that you already have. That is definitely just part of being a customer success manager.
So land and expand. Let's segue as well. Kind of like, how do you make the most of what you have with this existing clients? And a lot of recruiters might think, oh, it's just how do I get new hires for them if they're not hiring? There's nothing else there. What are some other offers that you've seen that are easy or creative? Like I know sometimes it's just get the ideas spurring for everyone.
I was actually talking to someone from an agency this morning, and one of the ideas that they had as an agency was like, okay, maybe they're not recruiting anyone right now, but they do have employees. Maybe they're a small business. If they are a small business, do they have a HR department? Are there things that we could do for them as a third party to help them just do the HR? So is there contracts? Do they have to have exit interviews, internal interviews? Are they going into a different position? Do we need to do technical analysis, questions, or whatever it is? So maybe just like be able to understand what their internal values that you can add with what they've already built, I think is where you can just like, for example, just get an extra income of what they already have, if that makes sense. I'm not sure.
I think one of the this isn't very high level, but one of the big things people don't do is ask. You know, if they've got a good relationship, if they're providing a good service, really leveraging that. You know, that we're here to grow, we're here to make money, we're not a charity. They know that. We're providing a service which is good, we provide solutions, then just don't be afraid to ask. Who else in their business, or who's their counterpart? Is there another branch? Is there another location? You know, really just trying to kind of, you know, map out the client that you're already doing business with. And I think, you know, Vicky made a good point about people that leave. You know, first connections are massive. You know, even like having a where are they now projects. Again, it's common sense, but making it common practice. People do move. You know, we say on LinkedIn, make sure everyone's got the people saved in projects that you've sold to. When they move, get the alert. Not everybody does that, but these are all just kind of quick wins. When people move, it's just introducing yourself again, if you've lost contact, but hopefully they're a first connection that you're continually kind of working with.
Yep.
I was going to say that whether you're landing and expanding and trying to generate more revenue within a current customer base, or whether you're trying to do new business development, I think information gathering that happens through human interaction, whether that's on a phone or through meetings, I just don't think that happens enough these days. I think there's a lot of automated email sequencing that goes out, or, you know, I completely agree that branding is hugely important. I think you should be a voice of your sector, so on and so forth. But if you are posting loads to get likes, someone likes, then you DM them, you can start having the conversation. But the information you pick up in speaking to someone around, you know, that project, that part of the business is actually failing, or actually I heard that there's a potential new program of work taking place in this location, and you can use your recruitment wiliness to work out who that client might be. I think those questions and that level of information gathering is something that's died a little bit. I mean, when I started recruitment, I got given a list of 6,000 SAP app developers, and I got told to call and find out where they were interviewing, and that was it. I'm not saying that we started doing that again, but that was pretty soul destroying. And I didn't actually get money, but it was such like, you just learn to ask things like bold, just like, right, who are you interviewing with? Well, the name switch, like, how does the name switch? Like, that's so good. But some of those like old tricks and ways to try and gather information from human interaction, because that human interaction information you gathered is something that your competitor is not getting, especially if they're not asking the question. So that is a bit of a competitive edge. And I think that then being put into your database, which no one else has access to, is also your competitive edge. What is in your database, what you know or what you learn from the interactions you're having, is your competitive edge. And you can use that with account development as well, right? And so the more questions you're asking, who else is hiring, so on and so forth, that stuff is fascinating.
So how do you recommend people operationalize that? Like, are you creating custom fields and reporting on it? Or like, again, whether you use Loxer or not, you can do this nice system. Like, how are you helping them set this up and use it?
whiteboards. I know it sounds like stupid, but like tally charts, like there's nothing better than getting a junior fella to run up and tally up his 5th lead of the day, and like running compies on it. Someone gets an finish to generate this many leads, they convert. I think it really depends on the level of the person, and I think that BD shouldn't be looked at as a separate function, a separate set of skills, and so on and so forth. I think it should be part and parcel of just what you do every single day. Like we're salespeople, we're always selling. Like we're constantly selling. I think when you operationalize it, it's mainly to do with how you report on it and report the success. So for my researchers, my resources, my delivery consultants, I want interview leads. Like I want a high manager lead. I want to know what projects are kicking off around the place. That's the level of information I want. For my more senior people, I probably just want that to go a bit deeper. It's probably just a depth thing. Because everyone can get a manager name, everyone can get an interview lead, but it's like the more experienced you are, the more of a domain specialist you should be, so that you can say, well, is that an upgrade project? Is that a greenfield project? And that level of information that you've got from that human interaction can be used in the BD pitch to sound informed when you go out to market with it. So, yeah, information. I keep saying about information. I've said it like 10 times. Information for me is like the way to go.
Yeah. I think on the system, the diaries, the callbacks, the to-dos are really, really important. A lot of people will have them pop up and they miss them and they let them go, but you'll only ever make one cold call to someone if you speak to them. The next call is a warm call. So if you've got that, you've got the information saved, you've got something to leverage next time round. And that could be a no, that could be I'm busy, but at least the last time we spoke, we were busy. However, I'm still here. I said I'll call back. I'll call back again and again and again. Yeah, exactly. But once you've spoken to someone, that's it. You've got that, and it's building on that. I think people expect to speak to somebody for the first time, agree terms, suggest 2 candidates and get an interview. And it's just not going to happen, right? But it is a process. It is building. But if you're moving it further down towards a sale, even if it's 100 touch points, then you're moving in the right direction. But you can start and do a lot of hard work, and then you drop the momentum. And it's almost like you've got to start all over again because you've lost that.
I start from scratch every time.
Yeah.
Mark, is Mark still here?
Yeah.
Not here you go.
Speaking of the system.
No, you were talking about Bill the other day, one of our BDRs. You finally got someone's attention. Because of the
I think what was the reason why they jumped on the call then?
Oh yeah, it was with me. I said, why are you on the call, brought you on the call today? He said, Bill, just kept ringing. And it's persistence really, isn't it? Like I think with our BDRs and Loxo, it's the same with recruitment. It's about having like a gold standard process, and it's like penetrating into a company or a person. Is it kind of every week? Is it over the course of 24 months? Just have that consistency of using AI and automation to actually hit those people, because once they know what you're sending them, when you pick up the phone, they go, lots of them, do I know you? And I said, yeah, I've sent you those emails. And it's just like penetrating the consistency. That's what I'm doing. That's what Bill did, exactly what you're saying. Just kept calling. The guy said to him, like, stop calling me. He goes, I'm not letting you go.
You didn't close, by the way.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, technology's there. Technology's there for everybody. People that aren't using technology will fall behind. People that are using technology but still having the human element, they'll advance. Yeah. So it will help you, but it won't do the full job ever, unless you're very, very lucky.
Yeah.
That to be able to influence a conversation, to be able to have one-on-one engagement, that's a sales part of the role. And that comes from the first call, trying to get them out of a company, finding where they're looking, to pitch in, to find out what else is happening in the business. But it is underestimated how much sales is throughout the whole cycle, and you have to keep celebrating those small wins for the people that are getting something. You're not going to get a deal every time, but if you're moving it and there's a little acorns on the rest of it, then we can move forward. But the people that just don't get anything and stop, then that's the lack of persistence, which you guys don't have.
Yeah, anything that you two are seeing with you're helping customers do that either they weren't ready before? Or?
I'm a big believer in person, going out meeting people, and I think everyone will probably agree, like we're not going out as much and saying like, hey, let's go for a coffee. And when I started in recruitment I'm going to say when I was really young, but when I first joined it was like, you have to go out and meet people, like you don't be calling people, go out and meet and sit up with them and say, so who else are you interviewing with? Because if you say that on the phone, they'll be like, oh yeah, I can't say say it, can't do this. But if you are sat opposite them, guaranteed they will not look away, they'll look at you in the eye and they'll tell you, because you're sat having a coffee, you're sat having a discussion. It's not a phone call. And I think with business development as well, and with hiring managers, go out and meet every single hiring manager that's out there. I think as well, a lot of people will go in and they'll agree terms for, I don't know, like design, but then the terms for product are completely different. So I think at that starting point, in that starting meeting, what I've seen a lot of is you've got these whole gold standard terms that go across the whole business, not just that one that you're targeting. I suppose that's land and expand. But yeah, I think in person, I think we need to do it more. I think it's so important, and I think it's completely gone off, if I'm honest. But events like this, go to different events.
Yeah. I was actually trying to reminisce on something that a sales director once told me. And sometimes in sales, we jump the gun and we immediately offer the services. And we're like, this is what you need. This is the holy grail. This is exactly what you want. And we kind of forget that little section right before of like, why would you need us? Do you even know us? What are your pain points? We first need to have those conversations before we actually sell them something that they have absolutely no idea what you're trying to sell them. They don't even know maybe that they need you until you actually start talking to them about what their pain points are. Once you identify them, and you actually should spend a lot of time just trying to identify them, get all the information like Sai was saying, and then you actually befriend them, like make a good relationship with those people, and then go in and sell the product. But specifically based on what they were looking from the beginning, like based on their pain points.
We can connect this a little bit to what the guys were saying earlier on, about the spending too much time doing research versus like going out and actually going to go do it. Your junior level people that are generally on the phone the most or doing the most outreach, those are the people that you can like deploy to go do that and test optics for you. And if they're doing that and doing the B2B stuff, they've got that culture of lead generating, information gathering, they'll be the best source of your research. We used to do it at Boss, which was an old 6 recruitment agency, massive ERP desk, had like 200 contests running. The whiteboard used to have all the leads going on there, all the program leads going on there. We would review those once a month. Run on the board, then run on a sheet, and we would discuss the management meeting. Because that was like, oh crap, we're seeing a trend here. Actually, should we be focusing on that? Do we have any relationships in that part of the ERP arena? How can we leverage it? So on and so forth. Yeah.
So let's talk about relationships as part of this. So one, it's literally business development. Development is baked into it. You wouldn't be talking to sales if you didn't have that first part. But I know this is a huge part of what you and I spoke about before the panel, was how you've leveraged relationships, really worked on fostering those over time, and use that to expand within your current clients, but it's equally applicable to new. So what approach do you take to like the long game with some of these?
Yeah, and I think, for us, some of the clients that we work with, we wouldn't be working with if we'd gone in and pitched ourselves as a recruitment business across multiple facets. We had to be niche, we had to get close in a certain area, we had to have like a Trojan horse, which was maybe not as well saturated as the market, and the decision makers sit maybe outside of the kind of the core structure. So for us, UX was really big. So understanding design where that sat within the business. And over time, building those relationships, working with design, waiting for the right opportunity, and if getting onto those PSLs by being very niche. But once you're on there, where does design sit in the whole ecosystem? Design is of a product, so who's the product manager? Who's developing the product? So it's really the good job that you're doing. You have to do a good job. You want to leverage. You want to push that around the business. You want to find out who else they work with, who are collaborative to their environment. So rather than go, give me all the names of the managers, say, okay, you work in design, what are the big challenges, where does product sit on this, and to really understand their role, understand their challenges, be an advocate for them, but with the mindset that you want to be landing, you want to be expanding, you want to understand who they can introduce you to. But really being specialists, providing that good service and then leveraging that. The people that you place, keeping close to them, they're the eyes and ears. Too many times you may make placements, you let people go, you give them a check-in, get past the rebate period and they're gone. But they're there, they're on site, they can see if the teams are growing, and it's just, again, it's all common sense, but us making it common practice is what we're really trying to major on now, coming through this next phase of growth.
One thing I took out of that, a lot of people go into sales now, but I only want to prospect director plus. It sounds like that's not the case. You're developing relationships earlier with those individuals and said Trojan horse, using that on their way up. So do you feel that that builds more credibility and trust because you can speak to those specialist ICs at the level that they operate at?
Yeah, I mean, for us, again, people that you place in a lead role will then potentially become management. They'll go into senior roles, into hiring roles. So it's kind of tracking the careers. You know, they know you, you've helped them. You may have placed them once, twice, but it's really, you know, it's not just the top level that are decision managers or influencing the process. You know, other people could be involved in the interview. So it's, you know, it's looking at all of the options that are available and not just being too one-dimensional.
We were just talking about that in the breakout session yesterday. We were talking about how some folks go into TA, right? We go into TA to try and pull jobs off them because they're the people that are directly responsible. But actually, we like to do three-pronged approach. So you go into, if you're a tech recruiter, you do CTO, you do relative TA person, but then you probably go with like a C -1, -2 because you want to try and build a bit of relationship. And then like name dropping, right? You don't have to necessarily have actually spoken to the person, but yeah, I saw your CTO say that this skill set is going to be really important for you guys. Funny enough, I've got 100 of them. Would you like to have a chat? So, you kind of get what I'm saying. That, you know, there's ways and means, but I believe that we should have three-pronged approach because actually, you know, in the unique scenario that they all come back and you can start building relationships with the C-suite technical person, plus the TA person, plus the manager, it's much better. And even if one of them comes back to you, you're building a relationship. But I think it's criminal if you're doing BD and you're just going from like one person on one level. I think you've got to go multi-pronged, and I think you have to, because that's how you can build more relationships within it. And candidate calls, just call candidates that work at companies that you're trying to target. Like if you know you want to work with certain customers and you just need to try to build a relationship with someone so you've got some inside track on them, just a CV database search of the company name and someone that works there, you know, have a chat. It's up to you if you want to push a fake job, but have a chat and see what they've got to say. It depends on how well you want to stick with that.
I want to steal some tactics that are working well for each of you. So a lot of people know, like, send the spec, use that as the way to do Bizdev. Any other just different avenues, tactics, approaches that you're seeing work well, aside from, you know, interpersonalization first name as part of it?
I think the people that do the best at the moment are those that have like really niche down. Like they've just gone for super candidate short markets. Like they're just focused on finding these unicorn candidates. They spend all day doing it, and that candidate skill set is being specced out as much as possible. And I do like. There's a couple of agents I work with now. They always do the referencing of the competitor name. It's just so good. I just love it. I can't believe it works. I can't believe people fall for it. For one of you, but just saying they're interviewing with competitor X down the road, and like. If you're in a really candidate short market, they don't want to lose that talent to those other people. It's just a simple one. That only really does work though if you're in a super candidate short market and that skill set is in demand by a finite group of people. So, yeah, that's my favourite.
Yeah, I think ours is, you know, we're looking at the potential to recruit candidates. So working at the level in our niche markets, you know, where we've got a senior role, but really leveraging the people that are going to be moving and hiring. You know, even if we don't place them, keeping in touch with them. If they start a new role, you know, we'll check in with them. We'll see. You know, we've spoken to people after a few months. They think it's us that's placed them because their recruiter hasn't called them. So again, we're keeping close to them. You know, we're keeping close to them, and you know, we're forging that relationship because it is, you know, again, it is straightforward, but people forget to do it. And the more that we are, you know, in front of them, whether it's email, whether it's kind of just keeping in touch, putting in calls, checking in. Then we become familiar. So, you know, when the time is right, that does work.
Bit back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do too much BD, but I think, I mean, it's what a lot of people speak about. I think you've all said, like, movers and shakers. So just having those alerts set up on LinkedIn when someone does move, or use your database for that of, like, candidates that you've placed in the past 3 years, candidates that you've done XYZ with, and then expand on that. That's where I've seen a lot of success from people that have come to me and said, hey, look, I've just did XYZ. Another one that I thought was insane is completely off the books. They are brand new to recruitment, never done BD before, and I was sat chatting to them. And he was like, I'm actually just so scared to like reach out and have a conversation. And we were speaking and I said, why don't you go and look on LinkedIn, see what that person's done. Does he support any, I don't know, charities or anything along those lines? This guy went away, did loads of research on this one guy, and then was like, I don't want to call him. So he just put a Calendly link in an email, put the quotation of what this director had said on LinkedIn and was like, look, I'm really into this as well. Like, can we have a chat? Didn't speak anything about being a recruiter. And I think he said he got 7 exclusive roles purely just from not going down that heavy BD, which I think you guys would probably say like, oh God, it's all about old school business development. But I think the younger guys that are coming through within the industry are more on that, let's do the background research and let's build that relationship prior than going in headfirst like, hey, I'm a recruiter, can I work a job? But yeah, he's buzzing now and he's really, really, really good biller at the moment. So yeah, him.
I think that speaks really well also to what Ellen was saying earlier, like use the podcast to develop those relationships with individuals. It doesn't always have to be BD first, but use that as a door approach. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Working at HackerJob, my previous company, they actually did something that was super interesting. And it turns out that finding software developers is difficult sometimes, especially if you want to reach out to them on social media on LinkedIn. And it turns out that they would also sometimes just join different groups on Twitch or Discord or whatever it is that are those different social media platforms that people that enjoy software development are going to be a part of. So sometimes like being submerged in their social media, in their niche, is going to help you also find those kind of people. So that's the only one, but not that I'm also in business development, so that's it for me.
no, it's a great point. It's marketing, like it's fine. Just go where your audience spends their time, not where you wish they spend their time. So like just because you can't put display ads online doesn't mean you should. Recruiters are on LinkedIn. It's easy to advertise to recruiters on LinkedIn, but if they spend all their time on Reddit, Quora, other places, your ads on LinkedIn aren't going to do anything. They're not going to drive business for you. So you have to understand where they spend their time. And so like that's a phenomenal use case to keep in mind with that. Well, any other just things around like the concept of quantity versus quality? I think that's a really big mindset shift that comes in with the relationship, and also just that swinging pendulum of what's old is new again. So like you're seeing a lot of older practices come in play, for example, like calling on clients, using people writing handwritten notes and everything else. So any other little plays like this that you all are seeing work well and just starting those conversations up?
I think.
Sorry.
I don't actually know if this is right.
Just shout.
I would say separating two things, which is process and then the relationship building. I think if you separate those two things, the relationship building will be your like qualitative stuff, and that will churn out some good information, good relationships, so on and so forth. Just got crap. But your process stuff and how you integrate the tech stack and what you're using, whether you're using Loxo Outreach, whether you're using the third-party mailing system, like what does that process look like? Where does the data get captured? How do you then reuse that data again? That's the bit that I think can help with the marginal gains in quantity when you do your outbound. It's bad to not be using more spaced outreach, right? Everyone is using it. Obviously, please don't sound like a bot. First name merge codes don't work now because everyone's putting emojis on LinkedIn, so you've got to be careful. There's a few things you've got to watch out for. But I think if you can leverage technology and design a process for your business development and prospecting, which reuses people and re-nurtures and re-engages and so on and so forth, I think that will help move the needle from a quantity perspective. From a quality perspective, you just got to make sure you're good every time you're on the phone. Like, train your recruiters. And if it's just you and a couple of others, make sure each call has a plan, you know what you want to get out of it. Quality sheets for junior people, they don't like talking to people on the phone, so give them some pointers and so on and so forth. I think there's like a whole thing at the moment about, new younger recruiters coming in, not wanting to be on the phone and all that sort of stuff, but eventually they're going to have to be on the phone to that candidate. So we might as well train them on what to say and how to get the most out of that. So those are my two things. I would say that the relationship stuff is where you're going to get your quality stuff. So what are your recruiters saying to candidates, clients, so on and so forth. But your process then, mapping from what do you do on LinkedIn, how much do you post for personal branding. I'd have that in there. I'd the marketing process, outreach process, where does that data go? How long are you going to wait for them to not get something to then go try and re-engage them? like having a 12-stage email campaign which goes out monthly to someone that's never replied to you. Is that a bad idea? Probably not. Like, they're not replying to you anyway. Why don't we just put something together that gets you in front of them anyway, whilst trying some other angles? But just so you're nurturing that is people. Probably why I said.
Yeah, again, I'll keep it simple. For me, the work why is so important. If you've got a salesperson, why do they want to speak to you? What are you offering them? Why would they respond to an email? Why would they respond to a voicemail? Is there energy? Is there passion? Is there some benefits there? Why do they want to speak to you? If their LinkedIn profile is boring, average, doesn't really hit the mark, it's like questioning, well, if you are pitching a client, the first thing they may do, or a candidate, is look at your profile. Is it clear? Is it stable? Is it current? Everything that we're doing to ask ourselves why. If we're leaving a voicemail for someone and it's a monotone voicemail, there's no excitement, you're not selling anything, why would they get back to you? So, just a basic tip of why for me works and goes a long way, and you can kind of put it to everything you're doing, really.
Yeah. I would say that, I suppose, just changing it up now and then. I mean, we spoke quite a lot about like outreach, automation, but I think I said it to one of my clients the other day, like the first time you put a curl in your hair, it's never going to be the best curl. The first time you cook a meal, you're not going to be Gordon Ramsay. So I think it's actually changing up your tactics all the time and using things like A/B testing if you are doing outreach campaigns, or if you're sending different type of LinkedIn messages. Do you want to go for a casual one opposite compared to like a more serious, and just change it up? I think people will see that one way works and then they'll just use and use and use and use it. Where I think if you change it up, you're going to know what works best, what doesn't work, and then you then can educate the people around you as well. Okay.
To that point, I call it like there's a time and place for best practice. There's two
Yeah.
types of best practice: fundamental best practice, like always do like calling people and other things. But there's also some best practices that are trending best practices in the sense that like as soon as the mass adopts them, it's average, and so you're not going to stand out anymore if you do that. So I really like how you brought that part up.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of people, and people are saying now that people won't reply on LinkedIn anymore. So it's like going, and I spoke to a client, like we're not using LinkedIn, we're going and using like Instagram, Twitter, all of those different places that the typical recruiter will not go to. We think job boards, we think LinkedIn, but I mean, as you mentioned, like going on Reddit and all those different places, just changing it up. I mean, LinkedIn influencers are a thing now. Like we've got like the podcast side of things. There's so many different ways of doing it. So just chop and change and see what's good.
Well, I want to open it up for questions from everyone. If anyone wants to talk BD or other things. Yeah.
I have a question. So, you spoke about coding, which I'm a big believer in. But do you use Loxo?
None of my clients use Loxo.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
But I only have a few clients, and I actually do like Loxo as a product.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, but then I'm also interested in Loxo people, if you can talk to how this can be done in Loxo, right? So coding contacts, what would you say are like the absolute must-have codes when it comes to business development in order to like put on your hiring managers?
Just what the skill they hire, like
The skill they
the
hire.
skill they hire. Yeah,
The
because
skill they hire for.
the skill they hire for.
What happens if they, we were talking about this, right? So what happens if they move company? Do they take that skill that they hire for with them?
If they're still hiring that skill set,
And if they don't,
to change the coding.
how do you avoid having really outdated coding really quickly?
How often are contacts of yours moving? And if they're live contacts that you're checking in, you've got bi-weeklies, you've got monthlies, they're probably giving you a heads up that they're moving, so you're probably already speaking to be able to update them.
So you code them after you spoke to them, and you code them for the one skill that they hire. You don't put any other codes on them as a contact.
No, it's just the skill set they hire, because I want to know what skill set of CVs I want to put in front of them, and that's it, because that's what they buy, if that's what they hire. But it would probably go along the lines of, hey, I'm moving to such and such company. Oh, amazing, did you get a promotion? Yeah, I got a pay rise. What are you going to be doing there? I'm going to be heading up this team. You're going to still need this skill set? No. What skill set are you going to need most there? This one. Okay, wicked. Good study. Cool. Then that way, whenever anyone picks up a candidate that's got that skill code, they've on the search, they can come to you and say, hey, you just went to such and such. They've got that skill set. Should we get this candidate from them? But I don't know if I'm making that sound too basic or something, but I've always gone with coding managers being the skill that they specifically hire.
Which will say the same. Does everyone do the same thing now? Or they had a
what function they offer.
Yeah.
Because it could be a variety of skills.
Yeah.
Very much superior.
Yeah.
I just repeat superior.
Yeah, see, for us it changes.
It changes. You can't. If you've got you're saying VP of Reg, then you're VP of Reg for oncology if they're in cardiac.
Yeah.
So I do hiring manager and encouragement. Very interesting.
But then so what you're describing there for me would be
Like
a category and then a skill. So for example, they hire in this category, but specifically potentially these skill sets. So then when you have a candidate, because there's layers of coding, right? So hopefully everyone does category, there's 2 layers at least. 2 layers is a good way to go, but one works, or you could group them yourself internally if you want to put category X and then skill Y. But if you've got the 2 layers, it's probably even better. So the border match is the category, but then if you know you've got a real niche skill set requirement, then you can just, you're onto a winner. All of a sudden you've got a skilled up candidate who's matched a skill from a contact. You know that that's a niche one. You know that you need to get out the door to them as soon as possible. So
yeah, so like probably not so people. So like to be able to do that in like so the issue that we have, right, is like a therapeutic area, right? So let's say somebody works in a certain discipline, let's say they're regulatory affairs, they'll recruit regulatory skill set, but let's say the company that they work for does this type of product, it's a glass, and then they move to another company that makes plates, right? It means that the amount of like just keeping up to date on all the changes and moves that contacts make is really tedious, where it's just easier to know if you're attached to that company makes those products, then you can search based on company skills rather than individual skills. But I can't do it. Is there a workaround?
Not necessarily. It's just search it based on the people entity, right? The person entity. Would you want to transfer skills from a company to a person?
Yeah.
There's a similar use case for locations as well. You could argue like your hiring teachers, right? If somebody has to commute to work, the company address kind of is what you would want for certain campaigns and searching for radius. And you'd like that to fill progress for people as well. Currently they have to search based on people tags and skills. Yeah, you don't do it fair from a company to person.
And so your workaround is just manually updating it every time you speak to someone.
yeah, but if you're using categories and then skills, so let's say if you use 2 layers, so you're saying that the person is in one therapeutic area, but the product might be different. So they stay within that therapeutic area arena, regardless of what company they go to, but the difference is going to be the product.
So,
So,
by lockstone, categories and skills are sort of the same, right?
Great hierarchy fields, we can have all sorts of structures, so you can have multiple layers of drop downs. So you could get here through categorization and say the hierarchy field is the best way to do it.
definitely can, because when we demoed it for Campbell North, we were adamant we needed it. So if you could, so for example, if you know that there's everyone's skill coding structure is going to be different. So if you know that they generally will stay within the same industry or category of companies, and then you can broadly code them as that. And as they're moving along, when you go to do your CV match to a skill set, you do category first, or you do skill first to see if there's an ideal match. Then you might do category, and then you notice someone's moved, and it's an excuse to have a conversation with someone if you notice someone's moved that you've had a previous relationship with. Or it's a good CV to go knock on the door with this the same category. Hey, I've got this person fits into your category. Not sure if this is still some of the skill set that you're hiring for. No, it's not. What are you hiring for right now? It's got that. That's how I would shoot on it. But yeah, I've always thought credit should be 2 layers because it's just on one line, like you perfect example.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. How do you guys advise specs? So we've actually gone from quite heavy delivery model with a few 360 recruiters, but actually a lot of people in our business want to do 360 now. And what's your best advice in 360 splitting their time between BD and delivery? Because that is always the constant struggle, right? In terms of going, great, I want a load of business, but it's also like, okay, crap, I need to make sure that I'm still doing those BD activities. So is there kind of like general advice you give around how to split that day and to make sure it's accountable?
I mean, for me, making sure they're doing BD every day is a must because I'll leave it till Thursday because it's, I've got roles to fill. Come Thursday, the cat's ill. I've got to do 5 hours BD on a Friday. That is not going to happen. So it is that programming in, that time blocking. And also if they are niche and if they are niche and they are working a market and they have got you know, if they are sourcing, it's just not the one-dimensional sourcing. You know, can they get them out to multiple clients? You know, so that for a 360 niche market recruiter, if they are sourcing, it's what other opportunities they're going to get. And again, if they are 360, they should be sales-led, influencing, picking up those leads. But yeah, you can have too many jobs, but if that's the pipeline killer. You fill the jobs, then it's back on the BD trail. So it's keeping them, balanced and making sure that they are doing those forms of BD, dedicated BD. For me, daily, that's where it works.
Just to look at that, I spent some time with last year, thanks to and go to the other.
So good.
Yeah, they have trained recruitment savers and they're absolutely against 360.
Really?
Yeah, I had quite a few interesting conversations with them because I would say that even to say I'm a 360 operations I shall handle trade. I take just to what affects me. I find that boring. So it's interesting saying that slash foot, yeah, that things that do want to do 360, but I'm not focusing on that stuff there.
360 model costs too much money.
Yeah. 360 or the one in.
It's 360. So that's why some of the big companies we used to have rock waters. These companies are looking at their analogy of giving stuff paying goalkeepers, strikers, salaries. But just keeping that a goal that Peter Michael shares. He's an amazing goalkeeper, but he doesn't earn what Eric Hens does. That's the way, but the problem is you're actually paying strikers, cardinal salaries. And the managers keep walking out to talk about average staff. Less recruitment issue in a wild person. They use a different skill set that try to break up as they are an RPO and as they are in Hannes is trying to break down the roles, different skills, the marketeers, you've got people good at cold calling, and there are different values attained to those processes. And the 360 recruiter, it's going to be the man shop. But really stale. You don't really pay people who's that economics.
Yeah, so I've got that, but myself insurance increases alive for I always call the business. But when he's got these on board now, I can see that they was purely on big day. And of course, it's affects drugs and something, which sound very young that I know they like to not money. The so to speak, that will, there's blind to get affected.
Well, you can, now the executive search firms, areas, they have very nice processes. Apartments are sweet FA. Amazing amount of things out there. Practical America, they do absolutely nothing apart from the really value of it, which is maintain trust, gain exclusivity. They're the valuable bits, they're the goals. The goals make the winner, not necessarily to build up the goal. So they're going to give the greatest rewards, and guess what? Life's not better. Yeah.
I think you're exactly right there. Scaling a business, if you're scaling a business around 360, is very high risk because people, if they're that good, they're going to always think, well, you've done it, why can't I do it? And they can leave. They can, if you're reliant on them to do the whole process, it's very hard to replace them, even if all their data is on the database. People still buy from people, So having, for the growth element, having, again, keeping the salespeople selling, but having the support there, having the delivery capability, having that heavy lifting piece, for us, I would probably see us going back towards that. And the 360 people we got need to be good. But it's just too high risk right now, That for the sustainability, for the resilience, having the data, having the automations, having the leads generated, and for them to be picking up on that and doing what they do. To be honest, if you're having conversations, every conversation is different, so that isn't boring. These people should enjoy talking. They should enjoy being in front of people, be it video or face to face. So I think it takes away that boring, repetitive part. But yeah, it is. They're the people that are closer to the money. To support them with the right support in terms of the data and the automations, I think is key.
I think there's an agency I work with who are like Nordic Tech, and they're all 360. And so the way that they've set their business up, they're like sales rhythm is unbelievable. They're all in at 7:30. They have like a 15-minute break, and they're back in 45 minutes back in. So their day is really mapped out, and they have. I wouldn't say it's a boiler room environment. They're like a trendy little bunch in Shoreditch. Like it's not like that. TikTok or reel that's going around on the internet, but they just know what's expected of them and the minimum expectations, and they've just worked the data back. So they know that they have to add X amount of managers, coders. They know they have to spec X amount of people out the door. They know they have to book X amount of first discovery meetings and so on and so forth. So they just have minimum standards for each activity, whether that's BD, loading managers, whatever it might be, and that's how they do it. It all depends on your business, right? If you've got a big quarterly invoice coming up from LinkedIn and you've got no money in the bank and you've got jobs on, sod BD, go find some candidates. So I think it does come down to like horses for courses, how you want to run your business, if it's lifestyle, if you really want to scale it, stuff like that. I think 360 is a good way to start because no one really, I've never really met anyone that says they want to do 360 for the rest of their life. Everyone's kind of got this like utopian dream of being like an account manager and having 4 delivery people, and all they're doing is taking people out for lunches and just coming back with job specs. I think people do want to move in that direction at some point. And I think if you have those people as people get older, that's maybe what they want to do. And then you plug it in, and then all of a sudden you've got a bit of maybe a 270 or whatever what numbers they call it nowadays are. But yeah, so minimum acceptable standards or expectations on activity for PD if they are PD, and you can just go do it every day.
Yeah, but it's speculative. But if you want to create shareholder value, 360 recruiters, extensively what you're doing is a reverse franchise model. Because you're just giving the franchise to a 360 and it's not creating any shareholder value or any repeatability or scalability. So it's really like a franchise model. And franchises are nowhere near as valuable as wholly owned. And that's the way to view it. And it can work to a lifestyle shop if you want to create scale and create value for yourself and your other shareholders and your employees. A lot of good funds have their employees. 360 just decimates the profitability.
You'd be a multiple of 2.
Sure.
But whilst they work for you and they're sending invoices and then you're being paid it and you're being invested in growing out the rest of your business, maybe by then you've had an opportunity to then shift out and offer different solutions or start building out a 180 model. That might be where it goes, but it's hard to argue with when you put it like that. 360 recruits self-franchises. Death to 360.
I was potentially advised, I know you've got a big bill coming at the end of the month, and it's a different sourcing. Send me a resume, send me candidates, non-guaranteed placement, and I think certainly when we're young enough for it, it's so exciting. A client I'm even chasing for months, it's like that. So of course, people that kind of visuals from done with 60 of that. And then you realise actually you haven't asked the right questions, you haven't qualified the client, you haven't set up your interview stage, you're actually not speaking to the right person. That's a really difficult mistake to make. I think it's a mistake we've all made, and we need to encourage more mistakes through our businesses. And that fear of failure, I think, is crept in under current times. Because unless you've got a retained biz, those candidates are not guaranteed. Absolutely, you can spec them out. NPC campaigns absolutely work brilliantly. I don't really put that in those markets. But that was probably something that I learned very, very hard about. Really tough year out of my career. I was put on a bit. And my boss sat me down over coffee and says, Tanya, yes, you've got 15 jobs on, but just because you've got 15 jobs on doesn't mean to say that they'll get you. And that's why I'm being music. Sometimes that is it.
Great, your jobs.
Some who's reluctant, unless that's retained, you don't know who else they've got it with. They might pull it apart tomorrow, they might find something internal to it. You've waited 3 days. So that was a real big
That's techniques for warming up those people that you haven't spoken to for a good while as well. You know, those guys in our CTOs that you placed maybe 10, 15 years ago that you haven't really had much touch with. Quite interesting, because obviously in the current market they're probably going fairly heads in.
Yeah. And he's playing the other side, previous placements.
Yeah, look, definitely keeping in touch with previous placements and just reaching out, and sometimes it's just asking them, like, you know, look, it's tough. You know, what are you hearing? How's it going for you? How's the family? All the rest of it, right? But the longer you leave that, the harder it is. You know, and look, ultimately, you can be honest and say, yeah, it's a real tough market. What are you hearing? What are you finding? Oh, yeah, well, we're frustrated. We haven't got the budget to hire, but we're all overworked. You know, people are leaving, and it's like, you know, it's not just going to be always about have you got those roles. They're in a market how it's been. where budgets have been constrained, you know, a lot of their people are overworked, bonuses aren't being paid, so there's big challenges there. So yes, we want jobs, we want revenue, we want placements, but understanding where they're at, how they're feeling, and you know, look, one of the biggest things is like when you've got a client contact and they've left, and you're like, oh, didn't even know who's looking. You know, it's like we're not understanding what they're going through. We're not understanding, look, you're a client, you know, we've got terms in place, but you know, how are you finding the market? Is anybody speaking to you? Are you hearing anything else out there? It is just constant conversations and communication.
Yes. Okay. That's very big.
Yeah.
Any other?
Questions, Doctor? Yeah, just what do you use in offshore teams? Do you like those?
Yes. It's a hot topic for me right now.
In the second line of
Yeah.
BP tasks, regular BP tasks to be sent, what do you work?
So it's more the data building. You know, we do have in English-speaking countries like South Africa, for instance. You know, we'll find they're more outgoing. They value their jobs. They work hard, and they really want to be a part of something. So the video outreach from them is quite engaging, and they do have a good sales flair. You know, we use offshore in India for data researchers, data builders. All of this I've had in-house. All of this in a big office in London, half-hour work, half-hour fag, half-hour chat. You know, there it's like 8 hours solid. You're getting bang for your buck, and the buck is a lot cheaper. It's workforce planning. It's keeping them engaged. It's keeping them ahead. Are they pitching our candidate or pitching our clients? No, we would still want that done by our UK-based sales team, and that's what, you know, for me, keeping those salespeople selling high-value conversations. The work to get to those high-value conversations can be done offshore, and then really we're picking up on that and acting on that and getting diaries filled for appointments and managing it that way. But the high-end conversations at a higher level, touch points are being done by sales-led people in our business.
So you're getting them just to look for prospects? Are you getting them to like, you want these companies, but one of them to track who's open to work with their literally to look at their LinkedIn profiles, so they post an advert,
Yeah.
would be that by.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we've had lots of products, and we were speaking about this earlier. And you know, I'm a salesperson. I'm easily sold to. I've signed up for many products that are going to be game changers. And all they do is, we're all guilty, right? All they do is weigh down our people, right? Because I've given a salesperson, well, you've got this product for research, that's going to test the email, he's going to practice your pitch and all the rest of this to send that video. And they're like, wow. Like, you know, so the more that we can take away from them, so the more that can be done. So we'll have an offshore person who looks at all the products that we use, almost like a bit of a business analyst. What products are we using? How well are we using them? And even with the database, you know, from all the databases I had, and I'm now with Loxo, probably maxing out at 14% usage and capability, right? What do we do? What do we need to do? Like, it's not a salesperson's job to research that. For me, that is a cost center, but it's a good investment to have someone there really maxing out so we get our return on investment of the products. So yeah, to answer the question there, I would want that done on behalf of our salespeople, but supporting them. And then if you're trying to attract salespeople, you know, to your point about 360, why is a 360 recruiter going to work for you when he can go and work anywhere? Because it's all on them. Where if you've got a sales-led person and you're giving them the support, you're giving them the data, you're giving them almost qualified leads from technology on a plate for them, they're just picking that up and actioning it. That's an attractive role for them.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
Yeah. With South Africa.
So.
Yeah, which places?
What do you pay? Not a great deal. I mean, this is the thing. You know, I have had an office in New York where I was paying grads $58,000 starting salary. So they need to have a higher return on investment on that, and very rarely did they make money. Whereas in Cape Town, you can get people for $1,000 a month.
Okay.
And with some bonuses and incentive leds, you know, they value, they want to work. There's not much work over there, so they, you know, it's not like within probably 10-minute walk, there's probably 30 recruitment agencies around here, right? So, you know, over there it's different. So yeah, it's working. It's a start of our journey, and that's going from having a bigger office in London having academies, having delivery desks, to now being a lot leaner and offshoring the heavy lifting parts of the line.
Would you have any consultants who would like to be?
Currently, yes. Look, I could probably write a book on how not to be a recruitment business owner. But coming out of the pandemic, we didn't know what to do, what the challenges were, what everyone else said. Look, I know there was a lot of companies that enforced 5 days, get it done, it's do or die, and fair play to them. We didn't, and we're suffering from that now. It's slightly different for us because we work US market. So I've got people saying, look, I don't really want to be travelling home at 9 o'clock at night because I can do 2 or 3 calls then. So it's like, okay. So we've had to have a bit of give and take, but I feel now we need to take that power back a little bit, and that's not me being kind of egotistical. It's like me saying, look, we're not where we need to be. If we're going to build something, we're going to build it in an office. And then, we're going to have the offshore piece and we're going to engage with them. But for me, the vision will be to have an office in London with salespeople, having those high value conversations, bouncing off each other, having that competitive but friendly environment and building that kind of culture where people want to be around high performers. But that is a work in progress, by the way.
Can be relatively sophisticated offshoring for 2 or 3. Sales which should be done with common language and culture, values. All these things hit. Never try and sell it to Germany if you're not German. That's just a stupid idea. So if you're going to be in the German market, you're going to have to be in the German market in just not where culture value fit. But you can still deliver from the country. We run a team for both, and we were looking for literally a rocket scientist, basically. And we found that one of the recruiters in Poland found something, sourced them, attracted them, they rocket scientists, and moved them. So I don't really share in the who we can't use for but offshore people to deliver. I don't like that. I think you can, and you can find rocket scientists using you, but you can't sell.
Yeah, we've got data in Philippines. Here's them say here first.
I had India, Shenzhen in China, Manila, South Africa, and they're all good at certain things. Indian templates, and they're awesome. One thing every BPO has tens of thousands of people in Hyderabad. Very good templates. But if you get them to do anything else, it doesn't matter. They do, and they say, yes, we've done it. But the cultural issue, yes, we've done it, and then it happens. They don't want to disappoint. It's very hard to run.
Has anyone outsourced on the sales part, not the actual selling, but the appointment setting bit of the sales? Has anyone outsourced that offshore? And that works?
Yeah. So new generation using CRM and then trying to get appointments by people ringing. But then you have to separate out phone numbers because you will not answer one that's coming off another. The bounce machine.
Yeah.
I'd use the South African resources for that piece.
South Africa.
Yeah. So I think the better success rates have come from the South African offshore resources booking things like client meets and so on and so forth.
And then it gets into your recruiters that sit in London and they'll do the initial intros and pitches and all of that.
I've got one client doing it where actually the only people that get it is principal level people.
Say that again?
The only people that get the appointment set for them is like a principal level person. So you come through the ranks, you do your business, so on and so forth. We know that they're high value, we know that they just need to be on the phone, they're our best salespeople, and they're the people that get all the appointments instead of round robin with all the principals.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the more senior in the business they're selling is well received right now, because they're speaking to owners, they're speaking to people that got gravitas, they're not speaking to they still will speak to senior consultants. But I think if you're at the top and you're still hands-on selling, then that's well received right now.
South Africa, because I did look at it briefly, because we've got resources in Philippines and India, but with South Africa, how did you get these people? So, because I was told by someone that in South Africa they have very specific things around employment law and you can't just engage them. There's certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of companies which will introduce.
Outsource them.
Yeah, exactly. And they may well house them and manage them and just. Yeah, exactly.
The internet electricity is difficult in South Africa.
So Say that again.
Internet and electricity.
It was something.
We research essays quite a lot where it just be down.
Yeah.
India, to a certain degree, never in the Philippines was always good. And Shenzhen was good, but in South Africa, for one big was the offices to be shut out because no internet or electricity.
Yeah, I think backup generators are very popular over there.
Yeah, they have like diesel ships.
Yeah.
But you can use like fibre or hardware places like that. No, but to find them first, yeah, and then once you to find the South Africans first, most people can work out their LinkedIn profiles from their fibre. I've never paid for anyone through fibre or upload. I've just found their LinkedIn profile and then messaged them directly and said, hey, I've seen you on here and I use you for something. And then there's loads of payroll companies like Deal, all the what employer records. But yeah, if you find a good one, if you find someone that looks good for a recruiter, you'll be able to find their LinkedIn profile on the back of it. Because the Fiverr profile has their experience, right? So you can see actually where they worked and then go find them.
Why didn't you just engage them through Upwork or Fiverr?
I think the fees, I think they get stung on the fees, you get stung on the fees. It's a sting both ways.
Oh, is it?
So actually, and also just having a direct relationship, direct employment contract, your own confidentiality terms and all the usual stuff that you want to put in employment agreement.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Do you have one last question?
Yeah, just it's actually not for the guys that use Dockside. You register that you'll just like set.
That's why good.
How do you go to business side that where you're at with your bosses to what you know?
For me, I probably need to be speaking to Victoria more. Find out what best practice is. Again, it's just comms, isn't it? Just communication, just asking. This is what we're doing. Putting it out to the team. How are people getting on? Any areas? Having a bit of an audit. It is that constant what's new. Are we getting the most? What do we like? What don't we like? What are the challenges? I think the big thing for me with CRMs and having grown previously, cut back and looking to grow again, when you grow and you bring people in and they have a little bit of knowledge, that's dangerous because that dilutes what you're doing. Yeah, no problem. I've used that. How did you use it? What did you do? What were the standards? So having the minimum standards on a CRM, but sharing that with Loxo, telling them how you're using it. Are we missing out on anything? Is there anything coming down the pipe that we should be using? It's just if when you don't know, you kind of get to a point where you either make a commitment to find out or you kind of turn away from it and then you use it less and less and it just becomes a place where you're storing data, whereas it really can be more proactive in the daily workflow. All right, is that what you wanted me to say?
Panelists, thank you for joining for this.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.